Welcome, everyone, to episode 18 of the Pinnacle Combat Sports Podcast. Dan, I had to hit record right away because you were on one.
I was on one
before I hit record. So why don't we keep going with that? What were you talking about exactly?
I'm on more than one, dude. Fuck Jake Paul. All right, so let's get into it. So
let's not waste any time here.
So all right, so not to say that the episode should be about him, but like, okay, so you want to look at it like, so you got a guy who's clearly over 200 pounds naturally because he probably did other shit, but we could talk about that another day. But like I saw you when you were a Disney star and you were a little Disney star, and all of a sudden you did TRT and now you're a certain guy. Okay, so you're a different guy now. So that's fine. You want to be a different guy, but fight guys your size. That's all I'm saying. Because like with Mike Perry's always been the same weight. They always talk about, that. So I don't know. You get into a whole different thing with that where you sound like you're nitpicky, but it's like it really, styles make fights, right? So when you have a guy like that who literally has a good jab, he's got a good left hook, he's got a good overhand right. Other than that, he's got nothing. He's got nothing impressive, in my opinion. He's got a good overhand right against a big guy, smaller guy rather, who he can impose his will on. But I got news for you, man. If you're fighting a cruiserweight, you want to be a cruiserweight champion. If you're fighting a cruiserweight champion or a cruiserweight who wants to be a champion, he's not going to fall for the lead left hook and the overhand right shit. Like, that's the type of stuff that you land on guys that are smaller than you. And then it was even like the first knockdown. You could watch the first knockdown. He hit him with the overhand right. And it was just the force of the overhand right that knocked him down. It wasn't like it knocked him down like he was really out on his feet. You just knocked him down with the force of someone who's 20, 30 pounds heavier than you. That's all that was.
Yeah.
I'm not impressed. I was watching. I'm like, his punches aren't even impressive. They're not fluid. They're like clubbing. They come over. Like, if you fight a guy who's a legitimate boxer, he's going to piece you up. He's going to piece you up. So, like, he always talks about that sweet science, like he's one of the sweet science people, but he's not one of the sweet science motherfuckers. He's not that guy, right? You know, that guy that you saw, you're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy. You're not that guy, dude. Like, you want to act like you're that guy. That's fine. That's cute. Whatever. You got money. Good for you, dude. You know, it's because you're a whore for all these things that you put your money into, but whatever. That's a whole nother story. But like, I don't know. I just think that was an easier fight for him where he knows exactly what Mike Perry's going to give him. He's going to give him straightforward movement. He's going to be a smaller fighter. He's going to be a guy who's not really, like, Mike Perry's a dog, but he's not really known for like that one punch knockout power. So that's another thing that goes into
He's not technical either.
He's not technical at all, man. He's got a good jab. He's got good attributes for a fighter who's the last guy that you want to piss off and put into a corner. But in a boxing format, it's not a difficult matchup, in my opinion, especially if I'm 20 pounds heavier than somebody, I'm like, bro, throw whatever you want. It's not going to matter. I'm 20 pounds heavier and he's naturally, but that's the thing people forget. They're like, oh yeah, but Mike Perry weighed just a shade under 200. I'm like, yeah, so he has fought his whole career around 170 in UFC. And then I don't know what he's fighting in bare knuckle, but let's just say, 170, 180. And then you take a guy who he wants to fight at 200 plus pounds. I just don't understand why that's impressive. I just don't. And for the life of me, I can't understand it. Because he's not someone who's at all gifted. Like, he's not talented in that way. He also gassed in that fight. Anybody who's his weight's gonna make him pay for that.
Yeah.
He gassed in that fight. It was just someone who's giving you he's giving you like it's like algebra, X and Y. He's giving you X and Y shots. You know the X is coming, you know the Y is coming. There's nothing else coming. So you're like, all right, I know these two things are coming, so that's it. So let me just fight this like looping right hand. Let me fight this. That's it. So other than that, I'm good. I just don't I don't think he's finding anyone that can expose him for what he is, and that's just a guy fighting smaller guys. I don't know what do you have any? I know I'm like, I don't even care at this point. I can't stand the dude. I can't stand him. I don't think he's that impressive at all. What did you see? Did you see something I didn't like?
No, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, like
He's slow. He's slow for that weight.
He's building his.
He doesn't even hit hard. He doesn't hit hard.
He's building his brand off of other people's,
legacies,
hard work and legacies.
Yeah.
Like Mike Perry.
Like Woodley.
The only reason
I met Woodley, bro.
The only reason he called out Mike Perry is because Mike Perry's at the top of his game in bare knuckle right now.
And they also sparred.
Yeah, well, yeah. And
so he knew.
And Mike Perry shouldn't have taken it because now you put all of your hard work in jeopardy because of losing this fight. So it's like, but then again, it was probably a decent payday, even though Conor says he took a pay cut to fight Jake
Paul. In the middle rounds, he looked good. Like if he had someone that was kind of maybe pulling him back a little bit, maybe that could have been a different outcome. But in those middle rounds, he was looking all right, where it looked like Jake Paul was like slowing down. And I felt like if he maybe put a different type of style on him, I still think Mike Perry has a different style. Like that's what makes him so terrifying. He's going to put it on you. He has no other way. He's going to put pressure on you. He's going to put like just a dog on you. And if you can deal with it, you can deal with it. But if you can't, you can't. And a lot of people in bare knuckle, they can't deal with it. But as far as in boxing, like I don't know, nothing about it impressed me. And he's talking about how he wants to fight these cruiserweights. I'm like, bro, when are you gonna fight a cruiserweight? First of all, because the last guy you boxed that was a boxer, I'm pretty sure his last job was like driving people to the airport and shit. So, what exactly are you proving by being a guy who's naturally over 200 pounds fighting guys that are all under 200 pounds naturally? All of them.
Yeah.
All of them. I mean, I met Woodley. He's a tank. He's a beast, but he's a small guy. He's 5'7". He should fight at 170. We're just fighting that. You made a balloon up to 190 or whatever it was. And, okay, whatever, man. Cool. You landed the shot on him. Whatever. Doesn't impress me. Guy's almost 40. Beat a guy who had a whole full UFC career, who was champion for a while. And it's like, we shouldn't even talk about it too much because, like, I don't know. I don't see the appeal. And I don't see, like, it'd be one thing. Like, dude, I'd be the first one to give it up if I saw crazy skill. I don't see crazy skill with him.
Yeah.
He's not doing something that people haven't seen before. He's just a guy fighting smaller guys. And like I said, watch that first knockdown. It tells you everything you need to know. He threw a clubbing overhand right that literally just like kind of hit him, and the force of it knocked him down. It wasn't like it knocked him down like he was out on his feet. He wasn't hurt. He was just like, oh, oh shit, that's a 220-pound guy hitting me. That's what it feels like. Okay. Like, so what? So now you're talking shit about Alex Pereira? Like, what? Do you really want that?
No, the only reason he said that is because he knows that's not even an option.
Bullshit. That's what bothers me about him. Because all he is all that fake. Like all the fake talk comes from the people that he won't fight. He won't fight Alex Pereira in any format. He wouldn't even He wouldn't fight these MMA guys in an MMA forum if they beat him. I'm pretty, like, I think that PFL bullshit is all just what it is. It's bullshit. He's not going to fight these guys in MMA. It's all just to build the brand on his end. And it's all to build the brand on PFL's end.
That's what bothers me the most, is he's using other people's success to build his own brand. Like, he's selling.
Yes.
I mean, he's making a ton of money off of.
Good for you.
Something, whatever he was, that W brand. I don't even know what that is. That new thing that he's doing. But all that is off of the backs of someone else. Like,
yes.
Why does he call out Pereira? Because Pereira's top dog, and he knows that he can't fight him. He knows it's not going to happen. But I'm going to talk shit, and I'm going to FaceTime him to get some excitement on my name. When Pereira's fought how many times in the last couple years? Two different titles in real fights.
real fights in his weight class.
Yeah.
Jake Paul hasn't fought someone in his weight class.
And went
he's
up
all
a
ballooned
weight
up
class.
this. Yeah, he's ballooned up to over 200 pounds, and he's like, none of it's impressive to me. Yeah. There's nothing impressive about his game. So you have you have a jab and a right hand. That's basic shit. So when you float that jab out and you throw that naked overhand right or that left hook with nothing on it, you think these real boxers aren't going to see that shit? They're all going to piece you up. So you know that. That's why you're not taking those real fights.
Yep.
Because you want to preach the sweet science like you're really anything about that sweet science. You're not. You're not that guy, man. You're just a guy fighting smaller guys who hits hard. Okay, cool. I could fight a guy who's 140 and starch him too. 20, 30 pounds lighter than me. That's cool, man. That's really impressive. Cool, man. Like, I wish I was doing that. That would be awesome to fight people that are 20 pounds lighter than me. And then be like, look at me knocking them out. Like, yeah, cool, man. Like, what? I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't.
Well, let's move on to something more impressive, which were the actual fights that happened last night on ESPN Plus.
It's just, God damn, bro. That shit gets me so annoyed because it's just like, you're literally just like, there are so many people that just don't understand that you're piggybacking off of these people that are really putting the hours in. So you guess in the second round. What kind of work you putting in, bro? You're tired in the second round? Are you kidding me? Yeah. Like, and that's a guy that's smaller than you. Imagine if it was a guy who's actually your size, who's actually going to, oh shit, he caught me. Let me hug him. Let me hold him. Let me drain him. Let me try to do something to him. As opposed to just a smaller guy who's just on the outside the entire time reaching.
Yeah.
That's what. But whatever. Like, let's get into the real fights, Jim.
All right. So last night at the Apex in Las Vegas, there was a fight night. I think it was 94.
There was some scraps.
Yeah, but there was some pretty awesome fights, man.
There really were.
Let's start with the main event. Amanda Lemos and Verna Jandiroba. What'd you think?
Jandiroba. Jandiroba looked great. She imposed her will. Lemos looked dangerous. I feel like if it stayed in the standing sequences, Jandiroba might have been in trouble, but she knew exactly what she wanted to do. She stuck to her game plan, and it worked out perfectly.
And Lemos actually had some really good defense too, like scrambling
especially on the ground, right?
On the ground, she had a really good defense. I knew it was going to be a tough fight, but that just shows how good Jandiroba is on the ground. Like
she's very good, man.
She's unbelievable.
She's very good. I just feel like I kind of wish Lemos kind of looked at it like, okay, so my route to victory is on the feet and keeping distance and making it a stand-up fight. And I feel like she was trying to make a point to like how her jiu-jitsu is equal, if and or better, whatever you want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt like that was the wrong route. You got to take that GSP route. You got to go, you're weak here. I'm going to expose you here until you prove me wrong.
Yeah.
And that's what I've always loved about GSP. And I think a lot of fighters could take a page out of that book and not fight with ego. I'm not saying that she did, but a lot of fighters can maybe not fight without with their ego removed and go, hey, where's my best route to victory? Where's the position where I don't think my opponent can overcome?
Yeah, that's like when asked about when Tom Aspinall was asked about fighting Pereira, he's like, I would shoot for a takedown within 10 seconds
100%.
of the first round.
100%. Yeah. And he's a smart man for thinking that because that's the thing too, because if they haven't watched him and they don't really know what they're looking at with him, he doesn't have a weakness.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few fighters you could say that with. Like you just said, Alex Pereira how great is Alex Pereira? But does Alex Pereira have a weakness? Yeah, it's the ground game.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Aspinall does not have a weak part of his game. He's comfortable in those sequences. He's definitely comfortable in the feet. Like he's comfortable anywhere. Wrestling sequences, jiu-jitsu sequences, just you name it. He's game and he's there. And he's going to be a handful. But as far as like Pereira, I feel like as great as he is at those things, the grappling and the jiu-jitsu part's not at the same level. Doesn't mean it's not good. It doesn't mean it's not improving every day. It's just not the same level.
Yeah, and when you're fighting at those top levels, these top guys, these two women here were, I think, 3 and 5 in the division, so they're getting up there, high level,
great matchup,
best in the world type shit. Like, you got to take the edges where you can get them.
Absolutely, 100%.
It's a different game. You might have been able to play some of that stuff in the early 2000s because the game wasn't as technical, or the sport, or most people in the sport weren't as technical as they are now. But you got young guys and girls now that are like, 10 times better than some of the guys that were fighting in the 2000s. It's insane.
Oh, God. Yeah, it's you can't even. It's almost a different sport in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
With the way it's, I can't even imagine what's going to be like in 5-10 years from now. With these guys, they're so gifted. They're so like it was kind of like that. I'll probably always use him as an example. But Rory McDonald was one of the first guys I looked at. Like, oh, that's an MMA guy. That's a guy who grew up young, training MMA. And it's showing. And now I feel like that's just most of these guys that are early 20s. I'm like, oh, they've been doing it since how long? Oh, cool. So
yeah, they were 4. Oh, okay.
Oh, he was 4 years old. Okay, cool. He choked out his dad when he was 5. Okay, cool. So, but it really is like that, man.
And the levels, dude. Like, with this fight, as an example, like Amanda Lemos is no bullshit. And she, took her chance on the ground and almost got her arm broken. Like,
yes.
I
thought she was going to. I really
thought so
did.
Too.
Yeah, I really did.
That was crazy.
Especially with someone who only has one eye on the prize, you know what I'm saying, Jim? So,
and they almost got out of that round. It was 10 seconds left in the round or something like that, too.
But no, it was a great fight for her. I was happy she won because I love new blood. It's not that I don't want to see Lemos fight another title fight. I do. I'm cool with it. But I've already seen it. Yeah. So I'd like to see Jandiroba get her shot. And then maybe Lemos come up and get a shot again. But I just always, I shouldn't say always, but I almost always root for the person who hasn't been there yet. And I'm like, oh, I want to see what they do when they get there. Because you just never know. Styles make fights. And there are certain people that you're like, oh, that fighter's not as good as that fighter. But that fighter stacks up better against that current champion than that fighter you said was better. Yeah. Which is one of those things where it comes down to that. And I feel like Jandiroba has a style that's very difficult to deal with because she's a big fighter for that weight, I feel.
Yep.
And it's not like she's great at wrestling per se, but she's very good at getting to fight where she wants it to be. And it's not like she's uncomfortable in the striking sequences. So she is a handful to deal with. And Lemos really tested her. So she, with the strikes.
Yeah, and either way, I want to see people who earn it, who really deserve to be there. And Jandiroba has been on fire lately. And yeah, I agree with you. I think she's really good at taking the fight where it benefits her. And she's good at keeping it there. And when you get on the ground like that with her, good luck. It's going to be tough. Absolutely.
Yeah, to even piggyback off of what you said. So she beat Lemos last night. So she's beaten Lemos. She beat Lupi Godinez. She beat Marina Rodriguez. She beat Angela Hill. That's her last 4 wins.
That's amazing. Look at that right there.
Yeah, right there. She lost Amanda Hebus, her fifth fight. But it's like you figure out a 4 or 5, you lost 1. And this is someone who's also in the mix. And that's also 5 fights ago. Mm-hmm. Which is, let's see when that was. That was in October 30th, 2021. So it's quite a bit ago. So there's a lot that can change. Those losses are good for you, especially when they're decision losses. You lose, you're like, all right, well, I didn't get stopped in any way. Mm-hmm. Let me see how I could improve so I maybe can even prevent myself from being stopped in the future against these people. Then you see certain things, you're like, oh, I'm open to that, I'm open to this, I'm open to that. Like, that's what I'd be looking at.
Yeah.
And I feel like she's doing that, and I'm interested and I'm excited to see who she fights next, because she is a true contender after beating Lemos, because I did pick Lemos to win. It was incorrect, but it was one of those ones where it was just more of a, like Lemos was more of a gatekeeper in that situation. I felt like she was going to hold that gate, and Jandiroba knocked that gate down. So it's great. I love new blood, and I'm excited to see who she fights next. And
yeah, I would say
like
she's probably one fight away from a title shot.
For sure.
Absolutely.
For sure. It would even make sense for her to get a title shot off that fight.
Yeah.
Because you said Lemos was what, third? So depending on the landscape, depending on who's next, I would assume someone at 1 or 2 is next. I don't know. I don't have the division in my sights, but
I should just always have that up. UFC rankings.
We'll get better at it. We'll just that'll become our little default. But so who's number 1 and 2 at strawweight?
Strawweight.
She's a big strawweight, man.
Zhang Weili is the champ.
Okay. Yep.
Tatiana Suarez and Yan Zhounan.
Okay.
And then Lemos was 3. Jessica Andrade, and then Jandiroba.
Yao Zhounan makes sense.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Did I say that right?
Fight. Yeah.
That makes sense, because you figure she lost. Did she lose to Weili?
She fought her at 300, I'm pretty sure.
300, right?
Yeah.
I believe so. Okay, so I feel like that's a good fight. You just beat number 3. You can fight number 2 that just lost a title fight. And then I feel like you win that, then that's your title fight.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Because Suarez, I don't know where she is. I don't know if she's ready. But Tatiana Suarez deserves a title shot, because she's a handful of people, especially at that weight. Her wrestling pressure is just, I want to see it. So that would be cool. Ideally, that would be what I would do. But I mean, if I saw that Jandiroba got a title shot next fight, I wouldn't even. There would be no reaction, because she's earned it.
And that's a crazy matchup, Jandiroba and Zhang Weili.
Oh yeah, that's a great match.
Zhang Weili hasn't seen a jiu-jitsu chick like that.
Not quite like that. No. Not quite like that. Like Rose is great jiu-jitsu wise in her own right, but Rose is not as big and as physically imposing as someone like Jandiroba. She doesn't fight the same way as Jandiroba. Granted, she doesn't have the same striking as Rose, but she brings different things to the table that are very difficult to deal with, including just size in general is tough, especially when you're someone who wants to use your size to get a submission. I feel like those go hand in hand very well together, size and jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Position wise, and just, you don't even have to be that strong if you have to. Just that positional. I just feel like Jandiroba is just, she's going to be a tough puzzle, man.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, it's especially at strawweight. I can't believe like every time I see her, she looks like a flyweight to me. So that goes psychologically, physically. That goes somewhere. That takes you somewhere if you're her. Because Weili is like, I mean, Zhang Weili is just an incredible fighter. She's a smaller fighter though, so you just don't know how that factors into a fight that goes 5 rounds potentially, right?
Yeah.
But man, she showed everything. She showed that she's ready for anyone in that top 5, because she just beat someone in the top 5, so she's ready for any of those fighters. And I'm excited to see who she gets next.
Yeah, I can't.
Regardless,
I can't wait.
Yeah,
but
she's very talented, man.
But yeah, then the co-main event, we had Steve Garcia. Big win for Steve Garcia from Jackson Wink camp, right?
Yes, sir. I believe so. Yep, Jackson Wink.
And he looked good too, and he was pumped. He looked kind of. It was kind of funny. he put a lot. I think he put a lot of pressure on himself for this win, for this fight last night, because he was pacing before, and he was like, and he was so happy when he finished Choi. He was so happy, and I think I heard that he found out 2 hours before the fight that one of his friends was battling cancer. So maybe that was it. I'm not sure. Maybe it was an emotional fight for him.
Yeah.
But he's got hands, man. This guy's dangerous.
Dude, he's got real deal power, like real deal power. So you figure, let's see, he has, he has one.
I think he's tied. I think I heard last night that he tied for knockout streak at 10 in like the whole UFC. Does that sound right?
Wow. I just know he's rattled off. I mean, it's 4 straight KOs or TKOs in the first or second round, the last 4 fights. And it's against no slouches of competition. You figure he has a stoppage victory against Chase Hooper. He has a stoppage victory against Nurten. How do you pronounce his name? I've seen him fight. Shaolin Nurdanbayekov. Have you ever seen him from China Top Team?
No, I don't think so.
He's very good. He's a very talented fighter. He had one against Costa and then like last night. But it's like you figure he has two TKOs in the second round and 2 in the first round in his last 4. Like you said, he just has this. That's a very, very much a natural KO power in the way he presents it, because it doesn't even seem like he is. Like you see certain dudes that load up. Like if you're someone who has to load up, I don't think you have real power. Like if you throw the shots the way they come and as they're presented in the sequence, like Alex, you don't ever see Alex Pereira really load up.
Yeah, no.
I don't see it. Like maybe I'm missing it, but he throws the shot the way he throws the shot every time. There's really it's a lot of torque and it's a lot of technique, and that equates to his power. But it's not like he doesn't have to sit down on things and to be powerful. And I feel like Garcia is a similar way in a smaller weight class, and especially at featherweight, he's a problem, man. I don't know where he kind of falls because neither one of those guys are ranked before or after the win even. But I'm kind of curious to see what's next for him, because I really think he can pose a lot of problems for people that are at that weight, that are in the top 15. He's just very technically sound. Like I said, he doesn't have to load up. So like every shot kind of looks the same, feels the same in terms of how you're probably viewing it as a defender. So you're looking at it like, oh, these aren't anything I haven't seen before. But then you get hit by it and you're like, oh, this is a different fighter. That's what's kind of cool about like real power, where those shots don't look any different in terms of how they're coming at you. But when you get hit by it, you're like, oh shit, that's a like I said, that's the example in the UFC I will use until he's not in the UFC. Alex Pereira is a perfect example of that, because he throws. How many times you seen those little looping lead left hooks they'll kind of appear lazy, but they're very surgical in a way that a lot of guys land. Just that lead hook, just kind of like to a very different level, because Roy Jones threw it just ridiculous. But like Roy Jones Jr., the way he'd throw that like as a jab, he'd throw that looping left hook as a jab. Like,
oh yeah.
Pereira does the same thing. A lot of guys can throw that. It doesn't do much, but Pereira throws it, and these guys look like they got hit by a nuke.
Yeah, they make it look so easy.
I'm telling you, man. Like there's certain guys that have certain power on their punches where it's like, yeah. So I feel like Steve Garcia is in that same company in a lot of ways, especially at that small weight, man. that's a lightweight for him to be. I just feel like a lot of things he throws, they don't seem like he's even loading up. He's not even throwing his 100% to it. And he hits these guys, and you could just see, like, I think he just has his game down, where he doesn't have to overcommit. He doesn't have to overload on his shots. He just trusts the fact that these going to hurt people. And they might not hurt people the first 4 or 5 times I throw them, but the 6th, 7th, 8th, they might.
Yeah.
All he is one. And then once I see that one, and that's why I kind of always get so critical of these guys that are like very bad at closing the deal. I just think if you're going to be a top flight fighter, you need to, when you have a guy hurt, the deal needs to be closed most of the time. Like, I understand there's going to be guys that are able to get out of it. There are guys that are tough. There are guys that are just moved in the right way. They just get out of it. But if you're going to be a top flight fighter, like a perfect example would be Anderson Silva. When Anderson Silva had people hurt, like truly hurt, they didn't survive. When he had people hurt, they were done for. Yeah. There was nothing you were going to do to survive, unless maybe there was 5 seconds left in the round. Other than that, he was going to stop you once he hurt you. And those are the exciting fighters that I like to watch, because those are the guys that are like, okay, that guy is championship material. Because a lot of guys that they if you're gonna see them hurt guys and they don't close the show, and then you're like, all right, I've seen him hurt 2 different guys that weren't in the top 15. He hurt them, wobbled them. They're on clearly wobbly legs and wasn't able to close the show. You're most likely not going to be able to do that against top 5 guys.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you don't have that heavily handicapped towards you and you don't close that show, I'm not saying you can't get better. I'm not saying you can't improve. I'm not saying that it might have just been a weird sequence, but most of the time, make no mistake about it, this one shot's going to land, you're done for, that's it. And the guys that are the guys are going to present themselves as the guys. And I really do think that he could be one of them if he gets the right fights line up.
Well, yeah, obviously he also has a bunch of bangers in his corner too. I mean, you got Greg Jackson and
it helps.
Technically the best in the world, John Jones, behind you, in Albuquerque training with you. So he's got all the puzzle pieces. You just got to put them together and keep doing what he's doing. Keep knocking guys out. Get that streak
Absolutely.
going, I mean, and yeah, I would assume, being a co-main event, that this
good rub
performance would probably put him in the top 15. And then,
I hope so.
I hope so too, because he looks great and
he belongs there.
Yeah, Jackson Wink. We need some more Jackson Wink guys, man.
And he's 32, so he's at a good age where he's in his prime.
Yep.
And I consistently think that early 30s, especially with the rub he has, like you said, he's been at Jackson Wink. He's been there for a bit. He's been there for a while, if not his whole career. He's seen it. He's been in there with guys where he's probably sparred guys that are like, oh shit, this guy went on to do that. I'm right there. So he knows where he's at. I just want him to get those opportunities to present himself where he can really show himself. Because like I feel like it's no disrespect to the guy he fought, but I feel like he should have got a bigger fight. I've seen
if he's knocking
Steve Garcia fight.
If he's knocking out everybody you put him up against, you got to give him a little bit of tougher talent at this point, right?
Seriously, because it's more because of it's more. So you look at the guy's record that he fought. And he's 11-7 after last night's loss. I'm not saying that's like terrible. You have multiple stoppage losses. You only landed 9 strikes in a minute and a half against him. So you clearly had trouble with him right from the get-go, and I just feel like it's nothing against him. I just feel like Steve Garcia, he needs a bigger fight, because if you include that loss last night, like I said, not to say he's not a talented fighter in his own right, but he has lost 4 of 5 of his last 5 fights.
Yeah, that's
so. No, I want to see Steve Garcia fight a guy who can legitimately defeat him. And I feel like that's been a lot of his last fights. Whether it be, certain situations where Nurmagomedov, he hits hard. I keep fucking his name up. I'm sorry. He hits hard. And I know Costa, he's also good on both ends. And then we both know Chase Hooper, where he's good. So there's potential of danger in all those fights that Garcia had. And he obviously came out on top in those. So it's not like he's not fighting the top competition. I just kind of wish he got a bigger fight in this instance. And that's nitpicky. It's whatever, I understand. But I just think that's how highly I think of Garcia in his skill set.
I think after this performance on a co-main event, I think that's absolutely next in line for him is a good top 15 guy.
Sure.
So I don't know. I'm looking forward to him too. He looked great. And he looks like he cares. That's the thing I loved about it too. He was so passionate about the fight in general, and then him winning. He was just like, I don't know. It was fun to watch. It was good.
And it's also like he's not someone who has to like, oh, I gotta land this spinning hook kick to be successful. No, he's very crisp with his boxing, and that's where he's successful first off. So it's not like he doesn't need a prayer. He needs good footwork, he needs good placement, he needs good timing, he needs all that, and then that's fine. That's all contained. That's all something he can obtain in a fight easily.
Yeah.
Whereas opposed to these guys that are like more like it's kind of like Michael Venom Page, where if he's not flashy and he's not winning in a flashy, he's gonna struggle. Like as good as Page is in every part of his striking, if he fights a traditional guy who's very good with his hands, he's gonna maybe struggle with him too. Just because of the style of it, as opposed to a guy like Garcia, who is just like he's so grounded in his roots, and he has that power, and that's what I love about those guys that truly know they have the power, because they don't need to overextend, they don't need to reach for any shots that are not there. None of that. If it's not there, they don't take any unnecessary risks, because they know they just got to clip you. They don't have to even hit you clean. They just have to clip you with something. And then just because it doesn't become a TKO or a KO in that one shot, he sees that stanky leg go, and then he's like, all right, now, like, that's what I always didn't understand. Like, why wouldn't you play with that? Instead of like just going crazy and start throwing all these shots, why wouldn't that be the time where you really throw heavy feints and heavy, just to get, I want you to throw that right hand. So as soon as you throw that naked right hand because you're just panicking, now I have my counter instead of just throwing these wild shots.
Yeah.
Like, make him bring it out. That's the time, like, especially when they're compromised and they're hurt. That's when you want to bring out their shot, because that's going to be even easier.
Yeah, because they're also more likely to make mistakes because they're desperate.
It's all autopilot.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that makes sense. Yeah.
That's why I love when I see fighters that I'm like, oh, they've clearly been there before. And I understand there's going to be a lot of times that probably people don't really spar as hard as maybe they should. And I feel like that's a very hard line to figure out what's right for people. Like those old like shoot the box guys, where they would spar so hard they'd be knocking each other out in sparring. I feel like that's too hard.
Yeah.
But
clearly.
like there's gotta be somewhere in the middle where you're getting the proper look, where you're like, oh, that was a legitimate, that could have been a knockout shot. But the fact that it wasn't like maybe it was 80% versus the 100, I had the opportunity to kind of duck out and see what it was for what it was, and then kind of, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like it's one of those one of those things where I just feel like
sparring,
there might be a percentage on it.
The only reason you spar is to simulate the fight, right? But you just don't go as hard as the fight, but you can simulate most of what a fight will feel like
Sure.
Besides the guy that you're going to be standing across from, obviously. But you can
And the
emulate
adrenaline of the moment.
Yeah.
Like the adrenaline of the whole, you figure Bruce Buffer, motherfucker has
all that stuff too, yeah.
He's a 3-piece suit and he's jumping around doing the crazy thing.
But a big thing, like especially with a lot of these fighters, is energy consumption too. I think you can definitely practice that.
Yes.
You know, how hard to do, know what shot to take and when and how hard to throw it and why, and all that stuff can be simulated in the gym for the most part. And then it's just being comfortable with what you know and in different situations. And, but yeah, I agree with you. You still have to go somewhat hard to get something out of it, I think, whether that be mentally, like, well, I don't know. I think you need to be hurt in sparring too sometimes and be like, okay, this is not a situation I want to be in once the real fight comes down to it, right? So how to change course while also saving energy because you're in a tough spot, how to get out of it, be comfortable, with your techniques and your jiu-jitsu and trying to get out of things or circle out or all kinds of stuff. If you don't get hurt, if you don't feel like you're being tested physically and mentally in the gym, then you'll never figure that out. You'd have to fight 50 times to figure that out, So
too much to and that's kind of like that kind of goes to like it was the first fight of the night. We don't have to talk about it in depth now, but it's more like a guy like Muhammad Usman. His footwork is his biggest, like, I don't even know what the right word would be to it, but like that's his biggest obstacle to being successful.
It's like his Achilles heel or whatever.
His footwork is awful. And
so you know what I was thinking too? I didn't ask you this last night, but he might have bum knees too.
He might.
He looks like he really played football or something. I don't know. But.
He probably did. And that's probably it. But it's more just, it's not even lateral footwork as it's more like, all right, I need to throw my right hand. I need to plant this foot and throw that right hand. And he doesn't do that. He kind of, when he throws his right hand, his left and his right foot are almost parallel to each other. And I'm like, you can't generate a real power that's going to hurt a heavyweight if you're parallel with your legs as you throw a right hand. You need to step into it. So you need to make a decision, plant that foot and throw it. Mm-hmm. And I just think he wasn't doing that, where Usman's footwork has never been high level. But he is so gifted in other ways, obviously with his wrestling, but it's more when he decides to plant and throw, he throws. And I just feel like Usman has he has very similar physical gifts, and he could do that. I just think it's more in the training, like you said. I really do. It could be his knees, but it's just, then it's like, then what are you doing in it anyway? If you can't really put the right focus into it, you're never going to be that.
Yeah.
So I just don't know.
Send him to dance camp. Remember?
I know.
Yeah, send him to dance camp. Lomachenko.
But it's not even I'm not even trying to be nasty when I say it. I'm never trying to be nasty. I'm just like looking at it like anytime I ever look at someone and their skill set versus someone else's, I'm looking at like, okay, how could you be champion? And that's how you're going to be champion. If you're going to be champion, you're going to do that whole left foot, right foot parallel as you're throwing shots is not going to get it done against heavyweights, because you're a sitting duck, because they're going to catch a read on that. And they'd be like, okay, so every time this guy seems like he's throwing his right hand, he's almost not even off his back foot. He's kind of in no man's land. Like, I feel like his footwork does him no favors, where it's just almost like you just got to keep it simple, where you just can't have your feet cross. You can't have that right foot cross over the left as you're moving. It's got to be in a static motion where that left foot moves first, then the right foot follows.
Yeah.
If you're going left, and if you're going right, it's opposite. Whereas opposed to if you're you don't want that right foot to cross over that left foot as you're moving, because then your footwork's compromised. And I just feel like his footwork is just his biggest, like you said, Achilles heel. And he's so physically imposing. You can tell that when he hits people, they are bothered by it. They don't like it. They don't like being hit by him. He's so physically imposing, and he's gifted in that way. I just feel like he's doing himself no favors by the footwork and all that. I don't know. There's clearly people in his camp that know so much more than me. But that would be the number one thing I'd work on if I was him.
Yeah.
And if I was looking at his game, it's just more like, okay, so how can we get that left foot forward where you catch someone in the bad spot, where you can literally throw that right straight through somebody, as opposed to being left foot, right foot parallel to each other, and you throw in the right hand. It's just, there's no way you can tell me that generates the same force. And like I was telling you before, maybe it's so glaring because I was watching Leon Edwards and his just masterclass footwork, just unbelievable footwork.
Yeah, I started that video you sent me.
Dude,
what was it? The breakdown. So good. Who does those breakdowns? Videos?
I forget his name. He's from one of the major camps, and he's phenomenal. I'm blanking on his name.
Well, let me look at a text stream.
Please get his name, because he deserves the call out, because he's a very, very good coach. And he sees everything well.
Was he the guy on the right? Yeah, the guy on the right.
Yes.
His name was...
He does phenomenal breakdowns. He's with like ATT, or I think he's ATT or someone like that.
Sudo or something? Suad?
Something like that. God damn it. I feel so bad for missing it, because I've known his name for a long time, and I feel bad because he's so... is it Suad? Damn it. Let me see if I can find it.
Something so
it's worth,
I think.
It's worth looking up, because he's so good. But basically, just to get into, as far as with him, I just love the way he was breaking down. It was just something I never quite saw the way he saw it, which is great when someone who's just been around the game that long, who just knows what he's looking at. He's constantly probably scheming in his head, because he has so many probably fighters in his camps and all that. But like when you're watching the way he was breaking down Leon Edwards' footwork, where it was literally just Leon Edwards just putting a foot in one spot where he can kind of control a whole 45-degree angle almost, or more.
Oh, Saif Saud.
Yes.
Saif Saud.
Dude, he's phenomenal. Phenomenal breakdowns. He does such a good job of breaking them down. Like, just the only one who I think is better is Dan Hardy. Dan Hardy, I think he's the best at the breakdowns. In a lot of ways, because I love the way he breaks down fights.
Yeah. And the whole technology that they have with the screen, the touch screen, that they can slow things down. They get different camera angles and all kinds of stuff like that. It's really good. If anybody hasn't seen those yet, I think UFC releases them on their channel on YouTube, right? And it's like UFC breakdown. It says breakdown, and they just break down like future fights and what the two fighters will have to do to, give themselves a good chance for victory and all that. It's really good.
It truly is, and he's so good at it, and the way he breaks down Leon Edwards' footwork is amazing, because like a lot of these high level strikers are a lot of their body shots, their body punches, their body shots are setting up the higher shots. So if they're throwing those body kicks, the low kicks, any type of low kick, they're most likely trying to set up a high kick later on down the line. Same thing for the punches. Like Pereira does it so well. He throws those body jabs. He's trying to set you up for a headshot later down the line.
Yeah, because all they have to do, once they hit one good low kick or one good low shot, all they have to do is feint the low, fake the low, go high, and now your hands come down to protect your body when he's actually going to the head.
Sure. Plus, it's like, it's more like, how do you react to it? So I throw that first body shot and you cover your head. I'm like, all right, so that's the first time. First time I threw it to the body, you covered your head. Let me throw to the head, see what you do. And then I do that and you see what you do. And then I throw the body. Like, it's just, you're kind of just like testing their reactions, because their natural reactions are all they're going to have in these like very quick sequences. So you kind of want to almost try to program them to react the way you want them to react. Where if I'm going to keep like, you kind of like, you know, when people say like, oh, he's going to the well too much, it's like, well, sometimes there's a reason for that. I'm setting you up for something. I'm throwing it to the body the whole time with no intention of hurting you to the body, just because I know I can land that left hook over the top and you're going to be covering your body, and that's it. Game over. That's Alex Pereira. That's exactly what he does. He does that type of, it's unreal the way he sets you up. So you watch a guy like that, and I only compare those guys because it's like, of course I'm going to compare the guys that are top of their discipline. Like, who's hotter than Alex Pereira in MMA right now? Like,
yeah, and all those fighters under him should be using him as a reference as well. You know, because that's
why aren't you watching his fights?
Yeah,
but why? But not even that. Like, let's just say, yeah, he's fought at middleweight. He currently fights at light heavyweight. He might fight at heavyweight. None of those weight classes could have anything to do with you. You could fight at featherweight. But if you're Steve Garcia, like a name that we just talked about, who's at featherweight, you're telling me you can't gain something from his game? Well, let me try that.
Mm-hmm.
Let me try that. Like, I have a similar left hook that I like. I have a similar this that I like. Let's see if I can set people up in the similar way. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But why would I not try it? Like, why would I not try what a champion's? It's gonna work if it's, you know, if it's something that's successful, which
clearly it's successful.
Alex Pereira, exactly. Yeah. He's so good at that. But
let's get back to our main card last night, because we're already almost an hour in. Let's talk about a couple other fights. One that stood out to me was Bruno Silva coming back to beat Cody Durden. That was pretty wild, huh?
That was a good fight.
That was my favorite fight of the night, I think.
I think it was as well. Because like you said, you really did think that Durden, you're like, oh, well, Durden's probably going to control this. He's probably going to do most of the damage left in the fight. There might be a couple scares, but you were kind of leaning towards Durden probably coming out with a unanimous decision or something similar to that. Mm-hmm. And then boom, just out of nowhere, which you knew that was kind of, I mean, that was his route to victory. I also picked a second round TKO, not bragging jam, but I also picked Korean Superboy second round TKO. Dang. I'm Jim. It's not that big of a deal. I'm just saying, I'm a big deal. That's what I'm saying.
No, that usually doesn't happen, but
no, I get excited when I pick exactly the fight the way it goes, because sometimes it happens once a fight card, maybe more, but it doesn't happen often, like you said. So you get excited. You're like, oh, cool. So I got two of them in that.
Yeah. And
I almost got three.
Doo-Ho Choi looked great. He looked good.
Yes, against a tough fighter.
And
Bill
he
Algeo
had him in a couple guillotines. And he looked good. I think they said it was like his first submission attempt in the UFC. Like, he's usually just a striker, but he was mixing it up last night. It was great.
That's the guy where I don't know what they're doing, but if you have such a shot that is your shot, which in his case it's that straight right, he throws the straight right.
Oh yeah,
it's phenomenal. He throws a great straight right. So if you're looking at it in that way, in terms for him, I hope he's looking at sequences where he can maybe shoehorn people into that, where it's like, let me get my left hook, let me get my check left hook going, let me get that sharp where I can kind of shoehorn people into my right hand, or just anything. It could be footwork, it could be anything that you think would work. But I would try to pick certain situations where I could maybe get someone into that right hand where they're not quite thinking it's going to happen that way.
Yeah.
Like I feel like a guy who did that, granted it's earlier days, it's a different time, but Chuck Liddell was so good at shoehorning people into the shot he wanted to throw. He would put them in that certain spot where that was where they would probably not want to be when he throw that shot, and that's when he throw that shot. Like I think he was so good at that. And I'm not saying he's the best. I'm not saying any of that. It's just like I remember that was one of my favorite parts of his game, is where he would literally take like he shoehorned Babalu into it, that head kick, when he knocked him out with that left head kick in that first fight they had. Like that's like I love watching that type of little shit. Just the little things that might pass you, like, oh, that he just knocked him out, and like, well, how did he get that? It just didn't. It doesn't just present itself, like especially like a guy like I always use him as example because, like I said, until he's not the biggest name in the game, I'm not going to, like, Alex Pereira is someone who is able to do that as well, where he takes you. It's almost like he gives you that false sense of security, and then you think that his best shot's not going to be in a position where it can land, and he just always finds a way to land his best shots.
And Chuck was really good about putting his opponents back against the cage, and then just following him and timing those, like you said, shoehorning his opponent in one direction, and then just timing it perfectly. He was really good at all that. Like,
he really was. Plus, he had a great chin. He was always willing to stand on that. He was always willing to stand and take that shot. Of course, but that's how that ends. That's how it ends.
Yeah, that's how those. So many.
God damn, that's a tough game to play.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, oh, I'm just going to take your, like, he took. You figure the names he fought. Like,
I know, it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Even some afterthought names. Like, people don't even think about the fact that he knocked out Kurt Metzger. He knocked out Alistair Overeem in Pride before he lost to Rampage in Pride. But it's just like, yeah, you take a guy like that, and it's like, well, there's something, like, you could take something from all these guys.
Yeah, there's always something to learn. Like, how are they hitting that? Like, how are they setting that up? Every time
that's how I'd be. But that's how I'd be, and I feel like John Jones is that type of guy. I don't know who else is that kind of guy in MMA in particular, where I know, like, sports that I came up watching, you were always watching other people's games and trying to emulate them. Like, oh, that was successful. Why was that successful? He's like, well, I'm not Michael Jordan, but against this fucking kid from fucking Tri-County, he's not going to be able to deal with the same thing I implement.
Yeah.
So, like, you got to look at it. Like, I don't know how many guys in UFC are looking at that.
Yeah, and then you can also put your little, put some pepper on
spin on it.
Yeah, put your little spin on it. And then that's going to make it even better. And then, I don't know, the better you get at certain parts of your game, you can always pick and choose from other people. Like, how'd they do that? How'd they do that? Hey, my head kick's getting a lot better. How can I set this up? Who does it the best? Then maybe you watch some Crow Cop videos, or whatever. Yeah. Leon Edwards, whoever. But yeah, I get it, 100%. But let's do a couple more of these fights, and then we'll do a little preview of next week, which we're very excited about.
Dude, I'm as excited as I've been in. Like, okay, I'll go on a limb, Jim.
All right.
And I'll say there haven't been many 2-week periods where I've been this excited for, with the Manchester pay-per-view and then the following Saudi Arabia daytime card, which I love those.
Abu Dhabi? Is that what it is?
Abu Dhabi, I'm sorry. What did I say?
Saudi Arabia.
What an idiot. That one, dude. But either way, like, just that card in general.
Yeah.
We could touch on it eventually, but they got a new co-main event, which is even better.
Oh, yeah.
So, but let's get into what we're going to get into now.
So the only two other fights I wanted to talk about, or not really talk about, but just mention,
Sure.
was Hyder Emil went out and just started throwing, dude. Like, that was...
Yeah, just a 38 punch combo. It's no big deal.
That was fun to watch. So good for him. Hell of a fighter. And
it's like a Street Fighter when like your buddy left to go to the bathroom.
You just start mashing buttons.
The control is just unattended, and you're just landing combinations.
Yeah,
that's what it seemed like.
Yeah, and then Cody Gibson with a huge win over Brian Kelleher. I was looking forward to that fight a lot. I like Brian Kelleher. I think I actually picked him, but Cody Gibson did great.
Yeah,
Cody Gibson, man, I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got next.
He's a dangerous fighter, man. He's just one of those guys where I feel like he's very patient too. Where I'm not saying he's not really a KO guy, but he knows he has those shots. Like he knows he has those knees. You could even say elbows, punches, whatever. But like he stopped guys in devastating fashion by knees. So it's like he has the ability to stop people.
Well, he needed that win because he was coming off a 3-fight losing streak.
But then
4.
Then again, Kelleher probably did too. He was probably not in a great spot. Neither one. Yeah, you figure now, including last night, he's lost 4 in a row. Granted, that's granted. So Kelleher's lost to Gibson, Garbrandt, Bautista, and Nurmagomedov 4 straight.
Well, those are some serious fighters.
There's no knock on that.
Cody actually had it a little worse. He lost to, well, with the exception of last night, he lost to Johns, Katona, Silva de Andrade, and then Gamburian.
Okay. So
but that was a long time ago. Wow, those are... Hold on. So he took off... Or maybe he left UFC and got back into UFC because he fought Gamburian in 14, 15. He fought Andrade. And then his next fight was until 2023.
We talking about Gibson?
Gibson, yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
so he must have got cut and then came back.
He definitely did because he was in the Ultimate Fighter where it was veterans versus newcomers, and he was obviously a veteran because he had been in the game for a bit there.
Okay.
But I mean, dude, he's had some legitimate wins, dude. You figure, so he that's a very good win last night. Then he beat. Do you remember Francisco Rivera? He was a beast. He beat him for a title fight. He lost to Ray Borg, but he beat John Dodson.
Dodson, yeah.
That's a big name as far as that. And then you figure you're losing such close fights where you're losing a decision like to Aljamain Sterling. So it's like that's when I just think that the potential for Cody Gibson is just off the charts.
Well, if he fights like he did last night, he'll be fine. He looked great.
No, he looks, yeah. No, he was one of those guys when I watched him in Ultimate Fighter. I was like, okay, so he was clearly my favorite fighter going in when I was watching him, just because of his style of fighting. He's a good wrestler. He's good with his distance. He's good with his footwork. He seems like he's always like he might get a little too aggressive, might get a little too forward heavy, but that's just what's going to happen when you're an aggressive fighter. You can't, you got to pick it. Do you want a guy that's going to be tentative? I'd rather have a guy that's a little more aggressive than tentative. So
yeah.
He has basically, basically what I'm saying is he has everything going for him, where he can legitimately be a player at bantamweight, which is a crazy division to even say that. So I'm excited to see that, because that's a very big win, especially in the first round, but by a stoppage.
Yeah.
So no, that's definitely one you want to, like you said, Hyder Emil. That was a huge win. He looked great. In that old school scrap pack, right? He's with those the old like Diaz and Gil Melendez and Shields and those dudes.
Yeah, he chose violence yesterday.
Yeah, oh yeah, and that's the fault. So,
yeah, he was seeing red when he woke up.
hell yeah, dude. So he looked great. Cody Gibson looked great. Miranda Maverick looked really good. Trey Ogden had a good win against a really tough fighter.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Luana Carolina looked really good. And even like we talked about, Thomas Peterson looked really good against Usman. And I hate to be so critical against someone who, is kind of new to the MMA game in a way. But it's more, whenever I'm like that, it's more, it might come off in a shitty way, but it's more because like I see so much potential in you as opposed to other. Yeah. If I didn't see potential in you, I wouldn't even be talking about you. I'm like, you're just a guy who lost. But if you're a guy who won or lost, and I see a potential in you where I'm like, man, if they tweak some things, they could be a serious problem for people. And I just feel like Usman could be that guy. But maybe, like you said, maybe the knees, maybe there's something else going on there that makes that potentially next to near impossible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I just don't like anytime you're caught perpendicular, maybe perpendicular is not the right word, but like if you're in a position where you're left and you're right, if you're just completely parallel as you're throwing your shot, you're not going to generate force if you're not going through it. If you're not throwing, it's kind of like
you're setting yourself up. You have a bad base, then you can get taken down.
Very much.
And that's not at all like you said earlier. It's not at all like his brother. So like, what's going on there? Like, Kamaru is always pretty wide wrestling stance. You can tell he gets a lot of strength from his legs and his hips. I don't know what the difference. Maybe it just needs time. I don't know, but
what bothers me. What bothers me about someone who's a heavyweight with true, like he's a powerful guy. Someone who's a heavyweight with power. What bothers me about that is that you don't even have to be someone who throws volume, which means you can be economical, which means you can kind of sit down on things and really take your time with things and make sure the footwork's in the right position for them. And if your footwork's not in the right place, you don't throw it.
Yeah, if you figure all that out, you might only have to throw 10 punches, but at least they're all good punches.
Yes, exactly. And that might be the shot that might be the sequence where you kind of catch someone thinking you're going to throw and then you just feint. Like I didn't see any feints from him. I didn't see much. I didn't see much.
No leg kicks
from him.
He didn't switch it up at all. It was just 1-2, 1-2.
And I understand Kamaru doesn't really throw leg kicks, but we know why that is. So maybe Muhammad Usman's in a similar boat.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Where he's not able to throw those things, which makes sense then. If that's the thing, then I'll shut up about the whole thing. But it's only because I see potential in you to be one of those guys that can really stop, like really put a hurting on people. And I think that could be him. I just don't think he's in a position to counter and throw shots in that way. He just seems like his footwork's he's kind of working against himself. Like it's even like even someone as great as Stipe. I think Stipe, a lot of times I've seen him in fights crowd his own work, where it's like he's not going to be able to land that power shot because he's too close to the person. Because his physical gifts are so good, he's crowding it.
Yeah.
He's kind of ahead of it more than he should be. Which I'm not even saying those two are even the same type of fighter. I'm just
I hear you. Yeah.
I'm giving an example of a high level versus a guy who's kind of on the come up. but we'll see. I mean, we'll see with the next fight. It could also be Thomas Peterson because he looked very good in his own right. He looked sharp.
Yeah,
he looked like he was someone tough to deal with. He was not someone who's easy to even hurt. These guys are big,
forward,
man.
Yeah, for sure.
These guys are big. So when you're throwing a right hand where your left and your right foot are both parallel to each other, I just feel like you're not generating the power that's going to really gain that respect from a heavyweight. But it is what it is, man. But either way, this card was very entertaining. There's a lot of good fights.
It was a sleeper card for sure, man. There was a lot of great fights on it, and it showed up, and everyone showed up and did a great job for the most part. But we got, like you said, we have the next 2 weeks are pretty crazy. Just let me go through real quick the card for next week, which if anyone's listening or paying attention, we have a UFC pay-per-view in Manchester, UFC 304, headlined by your welterweight champion Leon Edwards, who's going to be going up against Bilal Muhammad. They fought before, but there was an eye poke where Bilal could not continue, so I think it was like a no contest or something like that.
Very early in the fight too, yeah.
Yeah, pretty early in the fight. I think Leon Edwards won the first round, but it was a good fight. And Bilal had a good end to the first round as well, so I'm looking forward to that. Obviously, Leon Edwards and Bilal, since that fight, have done amazing things for their career, obviously, which is setting up an awesome main event that we can't wait for. The co-main event, the interim heavyweight championship, will be on the line. Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blades, another set of fighters that has fought before. And it cost Tom Aspinall his only loss because he tore his ACL in the middle of the fight. So that's kind of crazy. You figure
the main event and the co-main event, both, like they might be both rematches, but they're truly both first-time fight. Because the first time these two fought in both these situations, it wasn't really like Leon Edwards had success. Bilal Muhammad has had success for the end of the round, like you alluded to, but it's like Leon Edwards had plenty of success in setting up his shots too. So it's like it was kind of unfold, just getting going and unfolding, and then Blades and Aspinall barely got going. That was early.
Yeah, that was way early.
Round. So that's what's so cool about these fights, because neither one of these fights really got a true first fight, which means in a lot of ways both of these matchups are true first fights.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, which is also exciting, which also adds to it.
And then
keep going with the card.
We also have Paddy Pimblett versus Bobby Green. Now his name's King Green.
Now it's King to you, sir.
Manel Kape and Muhammad Mokaev.
It's off, right?
Which is going to be... Is it off? It's still on the website.
It's still on the website. I'm sorry. The reason why I texted you that last night is because I think it's been moved from the main card.
Oh, really?
Yes. I believe Arnold Allen and Giga Chikadze is still the first fight, but the one that replaced Cap and Mokaev is Christian Leroy Duncan and Gregory Rodriguez. I don't know if that's true. That's a great matchup. That
sounds right. RoboCop?
A great matchup. They announced it last night.
Yeah, so that's probably right. You're probably right.
But it's a great matchup because that dude, Christian Leroy Duncan, it's a great time to get him going because he's also from England. Great showcase for him, and RoboCop, Gregory Rodriguez.
Yep.
That's a great matchup because Leroy Duncan is a striker, and Rodriguez, as good as he is with jiu-jitsu, he has no problem standing with you. No problem with you. So I mean it when I say this. I'd have to look up the previous cards, but this main card 5-fight slate is as good as I've seen. I don't know how long.
Yeah, it's awesome. Dude, UFC, their pay-per-views this year have been off the charts. It's been insane.
Unreal.
It might be the best year of UFC ever so far.
I don't I don't think you can argue that. As far as like we're talking about just the pay-per-view portion of the cards. The pay-per-view portion of the cards have been absolutely insane. And I mean, if you look, just look at this card, man. It's you got the 2 title fights. Let's wash those from there. King Green, Paddy Pimblett, Leroy Duncan and Rodriguez, and Arnold Allen and Chikadze. Allen and Chikadze.
That's going to be an amazing fight. I cannot wait for that fight.
Such a good fight, dude. Chikadze is such a talented kickboxer, and Arnold Allen is just such a talented MMA fighter. It's going to be interesting to see how they clash.
I can't wait.
And then Mokaev and Cap. That's as long as that's still going on. That's on the prelims. You got Nathaniel Wood and Daniel Pineda.
Mm-hmm.
You got Molly Meatball McCann and Bruno Brazil.
Molly McCann's always a ball of energy in England, man. She loves it. Her and Patty, they're the best.
But these, I'm always pretty consistent with a lot of these England cards as far as top to bottom. They are as strong as any cards you'll see, and
absolutely,
this is no exception. Rather. And as far as if you look at this entire card, it's such a strong card, dude. Because you got the first fight. It's a great light heavyweight fight. It was a Prakšnio, the dude from Poland. It's fighting. Where the fuck is that guy from? Like Romania or some shit. Lithuania. Modestas Bukauskas. You ever seen him?
No, I don't think so.
I forgot who he got stopped by. That was a big name. But that's the first fight of the night. And I love that fight. Oban Elliott, he's from Wales. That's a good fight because Preston Parsons is really good. So it's a very good matchup on the prelims. Oban Elliott's just a grinder, wrestler, like just smothering jiu-jitsu. That's what he wants to do to you for the most part. He just wants to smother you. And I think Parsons deals with that well, so that should be a fun fight. Which is why Parsons probably favored. Mick Parkin, you saw him because he fought Usman, probably his last fight.
Yeah, last fight.
He's fighting a dude from Poland. It's just the fight card in general. I'm looking at the fights and it's just like I can't wait, man.
Hey,
I wish this fight was during the day.
Let's move to the following week. We got Abu Dhabi.
Yes.
Corey Sandhagen and Umar Nurmagomedov. A number 2 against a number 10. So Corey Sandhagen actually did he ask for this fight? I'm pretty sure he did. And he's like, I'm gonna make an example of the Nurmagomedovs. He's like, I'm gonna figure them out, and this is like that's his whole thing. So I'm looking forward to that fight because Corey Sandhagen's always been one of my favorites. He's awesome.
Well, someone has to. You figure,
right? Someone's got to figure him out.
Someone's got to figure this dude out because he's so talented, man. And he's someone who doesn't even really use his grappling as much. He's just he's a talented MMA fighter. And you're not saying it like Khabib wasn't, but you just knew what Khabib was trying to do. Khabib was trying to get you to the ground. And once he got to the ground, that was a wrap. But as far as Khabib's like defensive boxing is very good. That was one part of his game that was highly underrated, and that's his boxing defense, which is like perfect if you're a guy who wants to take people down and be a strong wrestler and have that type of base. You're a guy who defends the strike coming at you well, which means you see it well, which means then you can adjust with your takedowns well. And he was so great at what he was great at, and it wasn't something that people could overcome because he was so great at them. And I think people just thought it was only just his wrestling and only like submissions, but it was like, well, he was also good with submissions off his back, but people didn't see that because he wasn't off his back.
Yeah.
Like he was only on his back once, and I think that was like Gleason Tebow when he maybe not even Tebow, but it was against someone in UFC where he instantly got us doing a nasty triangle or armbar. Like you could just see the game was there. Where as soon as he was in a back position, he would flip it. So like, Uma Nurmagomedov is the next level of these Nurmagomedov fighters. Because as great as Islam is, I don't think he has the same fluidity as a guy like Umar. This dude is a talented striker. That's why I'm kind of curious to see how this goes. Sandhagen's so good there. He's so good with the strikes. And I just feel like this is the next guy for O'Malley. Whoever wins the fight. No matter who wins the fight, right? Like,
yeah, maybe.
Either one of these guys, you would not mind seeing fighting the champion in the near future, right?
Well, yeah, Corey's number 2, and I think he's on a 3-fight win streak. So if he wins, you would assume he's getting a title shot. This is for everything right here, for him.
Oh, he's set for that. He has to be. If you beat a guy like that, and you're ready to. Where can you go?
Yeah.
So that for sure. But then you figure, like in Umar's spot, he wins this fight and he beats the guy's number 2. That catapults him where most people don't have a problem with him getting that title shot.
Yeah. Which
sells in this instance where but as far as just a tactical matchup, I can't wait to see how that goes, and I'm kind of happy it's going to happen during the day, which also helps with my attentiveness, Jim.
Yeah. And it's on ABC again. We have a new free ABC card with Abu Dhabi, which is great.
Oh, that's phenomenal. But just like, when they're walking out, it's midnight. And like I told you, I've already had some drinks. Allegedly had 50 to 100 milligrams edible. Like, you have certain things in your system where they're like, okay, maybe I might be compromised. But during the day, I'm fresh as a daisy, dude.
Yeah. Well, let me continue on this card to get you even more pumped up. We got Vicente Luque against none other than the return of Nick D. What?
No, sir. I'm
Vicente
sorry.
Luque's out?
Yeah, that was the one I sent to you yesterday. So
I didn't see that.
The new co-main event is Shara Magomedov, Shara Bullet.
Oh, yep. Wait. So that fight's just not happening now?
It's going to get either rescheduled or it's scrapped because Nick Diaz had issues with his visa or something like that with the Abu Dhabi.
That's a huge bummer because
it's a huge bummer, but this is legitimately, I think, a better fight because I don't know what I'm going to see out of Nick Diaz. I don't at this stage.
Yeah, but I want to see it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But I just think I'd rather see like Shara Magomedov against a guy like what's that Polish cat's name? The Michael Oleszczyk. Is it Oleszczyk?
Something like that.
But the dude has true power in his hands. He's someone who fought at light heavyweight. He's a big middleweight because he came from a higher weight class. It's a good matchup. Whereas opposed to like Nick Diaz, I just don't know what I'm going to see. I always want to see him fight, but whenever you have a guy that's getting close to 40 and his whole style has been based off of volume and being able to take a shot, and you're fighting a guy like Vicente Luque, I just don't love the matchup.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. I could just see it going how I see it. I just could see Luque just kind of doing what he wants and it not being super exciting, but him winning in a comfortable manner. And that's it. Like, I felt like that was Nick Diaz's last fight. That's the only problem with the guys that have only similar routes to victory. But it's so hard to. That's why I kind of argue that the UFC the UFC should really have some type of divisions where they can get an older, like a Legends division going.
Yeah, that'd
where
be
it
cool.
would be, dude, if they,
or at least a different promotion or something.
Yeah, I know it'd be very hard to do. I know it would be difficult, but as far as the talent that there would be, and it's like, do I want to see Nick Diaz fight? Hell yeah. Do I want to see Nick Diaz fight against a top flight welterweight guy in today's game? No, I probably don't. Mm-hmm. Just like no one wanted to see Chimaev fight Nate Diaz. Is that a shot at Nate Diaz? Not at all. It's just you have to did you want to see Nate Diaz fight a guy that was close to the way out too when he was in his prime? No, because when Nate Diaz was really, he was something else, man. Like whether you liked him or not, he was stopping guys in UFC.
Yeah,
just like Nick Diaz was. So it's like, I don't know. It's like,
no, yeah, I get it. We've talked about it before. It's
It's such a tough. Like then people will be like, "Well, what would you do?" It's like I don't know. I just know
promotions
cool if they did.
You have a new promotion coming out like every week now. Like Mike Perry just came out with a new promotion last night, and it's like, well, why doesn't someone put together like a Legends promotion? That'd be great. Like have like Chuck open something, or I don't know, something. It'd be great. And then you could all, like, the weight classes could be figured out for each fight. Just be like, hey, you want to fight me? Okay, cool. How's 185? How's 215?
I would have no weight class. I would have a Legend division. Classes. I would have, and I'm not saying the guys aren't fighting in no weight class. I'm saying there's no weight class because they don't need to exist.
I'm just saying they could both agree to fight at whatever weight
exactly,
or no weight at all. Just be like, I don't care what you weigh. Let's just fight.
But it should be in some way, like noted or documented. It's like, all right, so you're walking around at what? Okay, you're that. All right, well, I'm right around that. Let's just keep it that. Or, you're a little bit heavier. All right, let's go a little under, and then we're good. But that's kind of like why I'm not like impressed with Jake Paul. Like, so he weighs in over the 200 pounds, which he's replenishing it. So he's probably like 220, 230. And you have a guy like Mike Perry who's never fought at 190 ever, probably. I'd venture to say he was just a shade under 200 pounds. He's like 196, 197. He didn't put on weight, so he's probably around 200 fight night. So that's why the first knockdown looked like it did. He threw a clubbing right hand, and it looked like it knocked the guy down because he was off balance, and he got hit by a guy that was 20, 30 pounds heavier. Yeah. That's what it looked like. So that's why I'm not impressed.
But they could do that whole thing with Legends, and it'd be fun to watch. That's the point. You could just pick whatever. You go, hey, let's go in here and pick a weight that's close to what we're at right now, and let's do the damn thing. Like make some money, put on a show. People are gonna watch, especially if it's like big name legends. It'll be great. Make some money.
Plus, you just listened to Rampage on the podcast talking about how he has plans to box Rashad. Like, that would be the perfect opportunity if I had that Legend division. I'd be like, you guys can fight in whatever form you want. It doesn't have to be MMA rules.
Yeah.
Do you want to fight boxing rules? All right, so come on over here. Let's negotiate how we can make it happen.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's awesome.
Like, why not have that more often? Yeah, that way, like, Anderson Silva, Chael Sonnen could have took place in this particular promotion in our heads.
Yeah.
You name it. Like it could be a thing. And even boxers could come over. You never know. You get a guy like Deontay Wilder who's kind of as talented. He's running out of options. In pure boxing, that's why I think maybe him and Ngannou might get after it eventually. But you could always persuade guys like that to come on over.
Yeah, for sure.
Like just any little thing you could get. Like imagine, I don't know, pick a heavyweight, just a heavyweight MMA guy. It's a big name, like Junior Dos Santos. You're like, oh, Junior Dos Santos is coming over. Okay, oh, it's awesome. He's gonna box Deontay Wilder. Like that would be insane.
Yeah.
Just to see, just see what happens. Who knows? You know, like
yeah, you could have fun with it.
And you could have all types of rules. You could all just have different rule sets. Oh, we're gonna do boxing, but we're also gonna do it's gonna be just straight kickboxing. That way, DeSantis can throw leg kicks. You can throw your punch. Like everyone kind of has some type of leg up and just whatever. Like you literally it's the fight is based off the contract you signed. There's nothing specific other than that.
Dan, if only we had.
Be cool.
If only we had $100 million just sitting around.
I would love it, dude.
We could do it.
First fight. Jake Paul has to fight someone that's north of 200 pounds for once. Let's start there. You know what I mean? Because then all of a sudden you get tired and it's a guy that's your weight. Now it's a different feeling, as opposed to someone smaller. Like, come on, let's not act like it's. Come on, let's not act like it's not. Come on, stop it.
All right, well, we got a couple other fights to mention in this Abu Dhabi card, and then we'll probably wrap it up here. We're at an hour and a half. This is good. So, yeah, Marlon Vera and Figueiredo. That's going to be awesome.
That's my fight of the card right there.
Probably mine, too. And then we got...
like I said, I avoid the main events for obvious reasons because, no shit, that's one of the top fights. It's the main event.
Yeah.
So, obviously, that's the top fight. But, man, Chito Vera and Davison Figueiredo. This card's great in general.
Yeah.
This card is phenomenal in general because you figure right after that you got Tony Ferguson, Michael Chiesa.
Yeah.
You got Mackenzie Dern, Lupe Godinez.
Yeah.
Even Joel Oliveira's very good fighter. Lightweight against Elvis Brenner, really good fight. That's a good matchup. That's going to be a striker's delight.
And the next one, Menafield and how do you say that? Mirzakhanov?
Me and my homie Azamat. That's from Borat. Let's see. Mirzakhanov.
I feel like I've seen him fight before.
I have to hear it. Once.
Mirzakhanov? Mirzakhanov. That's probably how you say it.
Sounds good. I like it. But he's 13-0. He's undefeated, so if you're just looking at these records, man, just take a look at the records. Look at Sandhagen 17-4, Nurmagomedov 17-0, Shara Bullet 13-0, Mikhail Oleksiejczuk from Poland 19-8 fought just look who he's fought. Then you see why. And then Chito Vera 23-9, Davison Figueiredo 23-3. Ferguson, once again, see, just give yourself a Google and see who he's fought. 26-10, Michael Chiesa 18-7, 13-5, Dern, Godinez 12-4, Alvarez 20-3.
Dang.
Elvis Brenner 16-4. Like everybody, like that's what I like about MMA because people they might see a 19-8 record and be like, oh, that guy kind of sucks. I'm like, do you know who he's fought? Have you looked at it?
Yeah.
Like, have you looked at it? Because MMA is so different because they don't give you easy fights when you're coming up for these title fights because they're obviously are favorites. There are people that they want to maybe push up, but it's different where in boxing they're kind of giving you these fights where you know how many times they say that going he should win this fight. Like no shit. He should win this fight because it's given to him because they're trying to set up the big fight.
That's the only reason he's fighting the fight.
Exactly. Otherwise, they would just give him the big fight. But they're just making it seem like he, whatever.
Yeah, and that's why we love guys like Sandhagen, who's like Nurmagomedov, send him to me. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm going to figure him out. Yeah. And
so
he wants to earn that
title
shot. He wants to earn it. He wants to, have that guy on his list of fatalities. That's what they want. That's what Khabib was saying. Look at, with Dustin Poirier. Look who he's beaten.
Yes.
Look who Islam, now that Dustin's on that, on his list again. Like that just makes Islam even that much better. The same with Poirier, the people that he fought and all these other people. Like when you put some killers on your list and you beat some of them, but even if you lose to some of them, it doesn't bring your stake down. It just makes you it makes you better. You have to fight people that are better than you.
You win or you learn. So you got a guy like Sandhagen too, where I'm not saying that O'Malley's looking past him. I'm not saying he's not looking at him like a potential fight going forward, but I would be willing to bet to O'Malley. Obviously, looking at Marab because that's who's next. And then he's probably looking like, oh shit, that dude Peyton Talbot's looking good. I might see him if I'm going to be champ for a while. And then he's also
probably
looking
thinking like Ryan Garcia and all these things outside of MMA.
You never know. He's basically what I was getting at too. He's looking at Irma Nurmagomedov as one of the guys he's going to have to see. So if a guy like Sandhagen knocks him off, that does something for him. Whether it does anything to O'Malley is irrelevant. Yeah. But if that gives you that edge where you're like, you didn't even expect to see me, and then I beat the guy that you were expecting to see, now in some way, in some capacity, you're not quite ready for me.
Yeah, surprise.
You don't really, exactly. Now I'm here. So that there's something there with that too. But
so all in all, these fights are going to be fun. I can't wait. Next 2 weeks are going to be awesome.
They're going to be great.
And I don't know, we'll talk about it. I'm not sure if we'll do a pre and a post episode for that Abu Dhabi card, but it's a candidate for one, definitely. We'll see.
I say we do.
Yeah, you want to?
I think we should, because I think we should look at the ABC type cards as pay-per-views in a certain way.
Well, we did the Saudi Arabia one too, yeah. So I guess we'll do it. Fuck it.
We can do whatever. We can do whatever the heck we want, dude. But
that's right.
I think that card warrants it, because like you figure like leading up to the fight, you're gonna want to talk about it, and like a lot of the free cards we don't do the pre-fight. And I feel like we'll be looking at Sandhagen, Nurmagomedov, Shara Bullet, Cheeto against Figueiredo, Ferguson Chiesa, Dern and Godinez. Like there's so many different matchups where you might want to talk about a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think just the fact the card's so good, it might bring us to maybe do a double. But either way, it doesn't matter, because dude, I mean, just the next 2 weeks we have are just looking phenomenal.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
I can't wait. This next 2 weeks, I don't know if I've been this excited. It's been a while since I've been this excited in a 2 week period with two different cards.
Yeah.
It is this Manchester card is really the heavy lifting, dude.
Oh, I've been looking forward to this from the moment they announced it, man. I posted on the Instagram and everything.
So we'll be doing a pre for that.
For sure.
And I can't wait. I can't wait to really dive into these fights and talk about them.
Yeah.
Especially, just the main card in general.
Yeah, for sure.
It's juicy. It's plenty.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up, Dan. It was great talking to you as always. This is our longest one yet. 1 hour and 38 minutes. Look at that.
Holy smoke.
But for anyone that has gotten this far in the episode, we thank you for your support. Share, listen, subscribe if you want. And you can follow us on Instagram at Pinnacle_combat, and our YouTube page where I post all of these episodes as well. You can find us there at the same username at Pinnacle_combat. Until next week, we're 6 days out from UFC 304. We're super excited. Tell a friend and keep listening. Thanks again, Dan. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, bro. Until then, we'll see you sons of bitches in Manchester.
All right. Peace.
See ya.